بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي يا رب العالمين. We're going to continue this book entitled The Invocations of God. Muhammad, you mind titling on the video, titling it Invocations of God? Are you able to title it? Yeah, if you could change it, inshallah. Because it just says like lecture, we don't know it. I just saw on the YouTube now. Invocations of God, inshallah, on Thursdays. So this book is The Invocations of God, or it can be titled The Shower of Good Utterances. You'll find it in English translation entitled The Invocations of God by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. And this is a book that talks about dhikrullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It talks about the benefits of dhikr. So it's basically split up into three parts as we talked about before. The first part, he gives a really good introduction, and that's where we are at now, where he gives introductions, particularly that about servitude and about the epitome of happiness. And mashallah, it's very, very nice. And giving some fiqh of understanding of our faith in regards to our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second part is where he talks about the benefits of dhikr. And he gives over 70 benefits of dhikr. And then the third part is he mentions the actual adhkar of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and giving a hadith and athar, particularly the adhkar of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What would he say when he woke up, when he would go to sleep, things of that nature. So it's a beautiful, beautiful book. Inshallah, we are going to cover it mujizan, just cover a summary of it. This is a summary of the book. The book is much bigger, but this is a summary of it, inshallah. What I do is I read the Arabic, and then we go over the English. So we just go a little paragraph, inshallah. So, billahi tawfiq, what we've covered so far is that Ibn Qayyim, at the very beginning of the book, he talks about the epitome of happiness, and he mentions that it's three things. And it's from a dua that he says. It's a dua that he makes. He says, Asallallahu an yaj'alakum mimman idha u'tiya sabr wa idha ibtuliya sabr wa idha adnaba astaghfar. I ask Allah to make you from those that if they were given, they are thankful, and if they were tested, they are patient, and if they commit any type of sin or wrongdoing, that they seek forgiveness from Allah. وَهَؤُلَاءِ ثَلَاثُ أَنْوَانُ السَّعَادَةِ. He says, and these three things are the epitome of happiness. So we've reached the second part of talking about sabr and patience. And we touched on the fact that if someone is patient, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentioned patience, and he talked about them being three pillars of patience. So patience is habsul lisan an tasakhut, and it is prohibiting the tongue from saying that which is hateful. Wa habs an-nafs an tasakhut bil maqdur, and also the prohibiting the nafs, or withholding the nafs, or suppressing the self from hating that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has predestined. Wa habs lisan an shakwa, and prohibiting the tongue from complaining. And then also he says, وَحَبْسُ الْجَوَارِهِ عَنِ الْمَعْصِيَةِ, and also withholding the jawarih, doing the things with your limbs on doing sinful actions. And then he says, if one is patient in these regards, انْقَلَبَتِ الْمِحْنَةُ مِنْحَةً, that the test will become something that is a blessing. So Ibn Qayyim goes on to talk about here, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى عَلَى الْعَبْدِ عُبُودِيَّةً فِي الضَّرَّاءِ كَمَا لَهُ عَلَيْهِ عُبُودِيَّةٌ فِي السَّرَّاءِ. For verily for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, upon the servant is servitude in times of hardship, and in times of hardship, and in times of ease and of happiness. وَلَهُ عَلَيْهِ عُبُودِيَّةٌ فِيمَا يَكْرَهُ كَمَا لَهُ عُبُودِيَّةٌ فِيمَا يُحِبُّ. And there is servitude and devotion that is upon him in times of those in things that he does not like, and things that he hates, and also in things that he loves. وَأَكْثَرُ الْخَلْقِ يُعْطُونَ الْعُبُودِيَّةَ فِي مَا يُحِبُّونَ. And most of creation are given devotion, or they perform their acts of devotion in things that they love. And this is very, very important. He says, وَالشَّأْنُ فِي إِعْطَاءِ الْعُبُودِيَّةِ فِي الْمَكَارِهِ. He says, with the real issue, the shutn is like the real affair or situation that is important, that one should pay attention to, is that doing actions of devotions in the things that you don't like, and the makarih, and the things that you rather not do. That's the real test. And then he says here, فَبِهِ تَفَاوَتَتْ مَرَاتِبُ الْعِبَادِ وَبِحَسَبِهِ كَانَتْ مَنَازِلُهُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. And he says, with this is to where the levels of the slave, or their departure, or their station will be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَبِحَسَبِهِ, and based on that will be their station and their level with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that which you dislike. Things that you love to do, very easier for you, because you love to do it. But the things that you don't like to do, Ibn Qayyim gives examples here. And this is from his fiqh of the religion. He says, فَالْوُضُوءُ بِالْمَاءِ الْبَارِدِ فِي شِدَّةِ الْحَرِّ عُبُودِيَّةٌ. He says, and making wudu with cold water in the hot weather is servitude. Now, is that something that you would like or something that you would dislike? You would like? Why would you like it? Exactly. It's refreshing. نعم. ومباشرة زوجته الحسناء التي يحبها عبودية. And those that understood. We'll translate. We have to be just. And someone that is along with his wife and being with his wife, this is worship. I don't need to ask you, do you love or do you dislike this? Inshallah, all of you say, we love this. Don't say dislike this because your voices can be heard on the other side, inshallah, if you have your family's here with you. وَنَفَقَتُهُ عَلَيْهِ وَعَلَى نَفْسِهِ وَعِيَالِهِ عُبُودِيَّةٌ. And spending on his family, on his wife and his family is worship. It is servitude. نعم. وهذا الوضوء والوضوء بالماء البارد بشدة البرد عبودية. Then he says, and making wudu in the heart with cold water in the very cold weather is servitude. Now, is this was something you like or dislike? Dislike. Now he's going giving examples of those that you dislike, right? And then he says here, وَتَرْكُ الْمَعْصِيَةِ الَّتِي اشْتَدَّتْ دَوَاعِيُ نَفْسِهِ إِلَيْهَا مِنْ غَيْرِ خَوْفٍ مِنَ النَّاسِ عُبُودِيَّةٌ. And then he says here, and leaving all sinful practices that the اشتدت دواعي نفسه, that his nafs desires to do out of, and he is not afraid of mankind in regards to leaving that is worship. There may be something that your nafs wants you to do, but you leave it off and you don't care if mankind doesn't like it. You have no khawf from them. You're not in fear of them. عبودية. وَنَفَقَتُهُ فِي الضَّرَّاءِ عُبُودِيَّةٌ. And spending in times of hardship is servitude. وَلَكِنْ فَرْقٌ عَظِيمٌ بَيْنَ الْعُبُودِيَّتَيْنِ. He said, but there is a big difference between the two types of servitude. The first examples that he gave were things that we love to do. And the second example he gave were things that we dislike, the things that we would rather not do. If it was up to us, we wouldn't do it, right? What is important here in regards to the things that you love to do that will allow it to be servitude? What's important? That you have to have? If it's something that you already love to do, it becomes servitude when you have what? Huh? No, the problem is that if it's a habit, it becomes, I'm going to say it again. The things that you love to do,
you start to do it because you like it. You're thankful that you're doing it. Fear of Allah.
the thing that you love, okay, so making wudu, let's say the thing that you love to do, or that's beloved to you to do, making wudu, oh man, it's hot outside. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, salat is coming, let me make wudu. Ikhlas, which is a type of, it's a situation of the niyyah. You have to have the intention. You have to have the intention. That is when it becomes servitude. If not, it can be something else. It can be riyah. It can be, you fulfilling a desire. But it has to have that intention that it is for Allah. That's when it becomes servitude. And then he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, فَمَنْ كَانَ عَبْدًا لِلَّهِ فِي الْحَالَيْنِ. Whoever was a servant in Allah in both situations, what are they? قَائِمًا بِحَقِّهِ فِي الْمَكْرُوهِ وَالْمَحْبُوبِ. That he is in response and he's acting accordingly in the things that he dislikes and the things that are beloved to him. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي تَنَاوَلَهُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِكَافٍ عَبْدًا. This is fiqh of the religion, wallahi. وفي القراءة الأخرى عبادة وهما سواء لأن المفرد مضاف فيعم عموم الجميع. So he says here, rahimahullah ta'ala, whoever was a servant in both situations, that they stand forth or that they perform with the rights of Allah in that which is not beloved to him and in that which is beloved to him, those are the ones that the statement of Allah is speaking about, where the verse says in the chapter of the Quran, the chapter of Zumar, verse number 36, أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِكَافٍ عَبْدًا. Is Allah not sufficient for him? Is Allah not sufficient for him? What do you think that means? Why do you think Ibn al-Qayyim put this verse in this subject matter? The subject matter we are talking about is that where the servant worships Allah and shows devotions in things that he or she dislikes, or let's say things that he or she would rather not do if it was up to them, making wudu in cold water, spending your money in times of hardship, right? And in things that you love to do. What's the connection with this subject matter and the verse that he put, أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِكَافٍ عَبْدًا? كيف بالعوض؟ What do you mean ajr? Yes, I know what that's the salah. He's saying reward. Okay, so what will push you to do the thing that you dislike? The reward. The reward. Well, how many times do we hear something and then we say, Allah will reward you for this? And it's something that is from the unseen, or it's something that, for instance, Saf al-Awwal, coming to the masjid for Saf al-Awwal. How many of us, when we come to the masjid, we have the intention for Saf al-Awwal? Right? There's reward in that. Salat al-Jama'ah. Don't answer the question. Answer within yourself. I hope you do. Inshallah, we all receive reward for coming to the masjid today. Wallahi, it's a fadl that you get up from your house, you leave from wherever you are to come to the masjid and pray and to leave. Wallahi, that's a very commendable thing nowadays, especially for the Muslim to come to the masjid just to pray and to leave. But Allah always gives you an opportunity to be better. Having the intention, I want to go to the masjid today. I was about to pray Isha at home, but I told my family I'm just going to go to the masjid because I was thinking 25 or 27. Who knows what I mean by 25 or 27? Ajr. Right? There's always an opportunity, 25 or 27. Okay, Saf al-Awwal. Okay, staying between Maghrib and Isha. Okay, staying and praying witr. See, there's always an opportunity. You see? So hoping for the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So is not Allah sufficient for you? Meaning, is not the deen of Islam, the religion of Islam, sufficient for you to do those things that you may dislike, but you do it because you seek the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a connection. Ibn al-Qayyim goes on to say, rahimahullah ta'ala, فَالْكِفَايَةُ التَّامَةُ مَعَ الْعُبُودِيَّةِ التَّامَّةِ. He says, with the complete devotion comes complete sufficiency. وَالنَّاقِصَةُ مَعَ النَّاقِصَةِ. And that which is deficient comes deficient. And this is fiqh of the religion again. He says, with the one that is complete devotion comes the complete, what? Sufficiency. So with the complete devotion, the more you are devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and devoted to the religion and devoted to salah, that's when the doors and the keys of feeling self-sufficient with Allah is enough for you. Meaning, if someone says, well, there was a long time ago I was talking to this youth and they were saying, well, I just don't feel it in salah. I don't feel it in salah. And to be honest, I feel it with marijuana. 14 years old. I feel a euphoric state when I smoke weed. But in prayer, I just don't feel it, right? We have to ask the initial questions sometimes. Okay, what was your expectation for the prayer? And when you came in, did you hope for the reward from Allah in the prayer? Or were you just doing it because, what? You have to. You were told to. Remember, 14 years old, they still live with their parents. You were told to do it. But did you make the effort? Yeah, let me seek Allah's blessings. Let me seek the help. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Let me seek it. Let me search for it. That's what istighfar, seeking forgiveness. Nasta'een, seeking help. Let me seek it. If you're not seeking, let me just try this out. That's not going to work that way. Right? It's not going to work that way. You have to give yourself something to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Istislam. You have to submit yourself to Allah. When you do that, that's when you feel the level of sufficiency and you feel, wallahi, as Imam al-Khattab used to say, wallahi, al-Islamu yakfi li. Islam is enough for me. I don't need to go anywhere else. And that's where he's saying, فَالْكِفَايَةُ التَّامَةُ مَعَ الْعُبُودِيَّةِ التَّامَةِ والناقصة مع الناقصة فمن وجد خيرا فليحمد الله ومن وجد غير ذلك فلا يلومن إلا نفسه. Allahu Akbar. He makes a statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, whoever finds good, then they praise Allah. And whoever finds other than that, then don't blame anyone but themselves. And this statement is so important because Islam does not need you. I'm going to repeat that. Islam does not need you. Allah does not need you. You need Islam. You need Allah. This is very, very important. And this is in the chapter of Hujurat, when the people of Banu Mustaliq came to embrace Islam to the Prophet ﷺ, and then there was a feeling that manna ala Allah, that they had a favor upon the deen of Islam and the deen of that Islam was in need for Banu Mustaliq to become Muslim. And because they did a favor for Islam. La. They didn't do a favor it was a favor for themselves. Just as when you do a good deed on a micro level, when you do a good deed for Allah, we have to understand, especially telling our children this, because for someone expresses that the person you did a service for, they had some type of need. Therefore, they needed you to do it for them. I know that's a lot of fours. It's like, right? That's like 12, 4, 4, 4. Right? Sheikh Allah, mashallah, he sells vehicles. By the way, if you need the latest Telsa, he sells vehicles, mashallah. If I need a car at a discounted rate because I'm an Imam, hint, hint, right? Right? He will help me and have, because he has a service for me to fulfill my need. And the Prophet ﷺ said in regards to commerce, by the way, it's a beautiful hadith. He said, دَعُ النَّاسَ يَرْزُقُ بَعْضُهُمْ بَعْضًا. He said, let mankind provide for one another. Let them buy and trade and sell, fulfill each other's need. I have cows, you have rice. He has gold, you have spice. You know, catch that? It all works. You sprinkle the rice, and then you have some lahm because of the cow, and then I have the gold, to buy. It all works out. But that's economics. So here, when we're talking about this, you do something for Allah. Allah does not need you. You do it for the sake of Allah because Allah wants you to be your best version of yourself. And when you do that, i.e. practice Islam, thinking is knowing that Islam is enough for you, that is when the reward comes back to you, inshallah ta'ala. So then he says here, and we'll conclude, he says here, فمن وجد, he says here, وهؤلاء هم عباده الذين ليس لعدوه عليهم سلطان. And those are the servants of Allah that for his enemy, he has no type of authority over them, inshallah. So we'll conclude here, inshallah. So this basically was talking about, this portion of the book was on the second portion of the dua that Ibn al-Qayyim made, that he said, وَإِذَا ابْتُلِيَ صَبْرٌ. When he talked about patience, we mentioned the 3 pillars of patience, but then he goes on to talk about this particular issue and being patient and doing the actions of those things which you may dislike, and that is the real test. So each and every one of us, inshallah, before you go to sleep, let's have a task. Look at one thing that you may dislike to do. I don't want to use the word dislike because we don't want to dislike something from the Sharia, but it's something that if it was up to you, and this requires sidq ma nafsik. If it was up to you, you wouldn't do it. Right? If it was up to you, you wouldn't do it. What are those things? To ask yourself, and then if you have the opportunity tonight or tomorrow, to do that thing, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with thabat on his religion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those that when we do any type of action that we ask for forgiveness, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those that anytime we are tested that we are patient and we recognize his greatness upon us, we recognize his authority upon us, we recognize our deficient nature, and to allow that deficient nature to shine through by practicing the Sharia. For verily the Sharia is enough for us. إنه ولي ذلك. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يثيبنا جميعا يا رب العالمين وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم يا القوي يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا الرزاق يا ذو القوة المتين يا الرزاق ارزق إخواننا المستضعفين في سوريا في تركيا يا رب العالمين ومدهم بمدد من عندك يا العزيز يا القوي يا متين وثبت أقدامهم يا رب العالمين وباركهم في إيمانهم يا رب العالمين وزدهم إيمانا ويقينا يا عزيز يا قوي يا متين يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا الهادي يا الرشيد وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.